Today on Good Morning Suncoast, shocking twist. Northport police say a man with ties to a high-profile murder case was stabbed to death after an attempted kidnapping in Northport.
It's been 6 months since Hurricane Irma. A former FEMA boss was in Sarasota County talking to county leaders on the strengths and the weaknesses of the county. What they are, straight ahead.
And it's been a controversial issue for more than a year now. The latest plans for the future of land near Celery Fields Wildlife Park. We have those stories plus your first alert weather and traffic. Good Morning Suncoast starts right now.
You're watching Good Morning Suncoast at 5.
Midway through March the 15th, 1 month till tax deadline. So today we have 3 tips for you this half hour on ways you can improve your deductions on your taxes.
Oh, I like all of those words. More money makes you worth getting up in the morning.
You're optimistic, aren't you?
Yes,
Right.
Every year, and then reality sinks in.
Exactly.
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Webb.
I'm Ray Collins. He called it a chilly day, and indeed, it's off to a chilly start, John.
Chilly indeed, but you know, not as cold as thought yesterday at this hour, so at least along the coastline. Now inland it's a different story, but along the coastline we had a little bit of a westerly wind that kind of kept the temperatures a few degrees warmer, which is nice, but inland, boy, it is a cold start to the morning. In fact, in many places we'll be down into the 30s, I think, before we start to warm. Arcadia at 44 right now, so is Wauchula, Mayaca City. Punta Gorda at 42, so not too far away from that 30 degree, upper 30s anyway. Bradenton comes in at 46, Sarasota is at 49, Venice 51, 55, Longboat Key. Dry air in place, but the good news is that'll heat nicely. Now here's the 24-hour temperature difference between now and yesterday, and we're going to have to show that to you in a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you. Checking the roads now off Cortez, showing plenty of build-up, an unusual spot. Usually we see more activity near 70, but today it's near Cortez. In fact, heading toward the beaches there. Toward Cortez and Holmes Beach, farther south into Sarasota County. Not too much to report so far, showing pretty clear. And then our map to the south, we'll check on that and find out. You see a little blip there in the top of your screen, top left at Clark Road, heading toward the interstate as it disappears on us. Otherwise, pretty clear at 5:02 on your Thursday morning.
And right now, a live look at US 301 and Fruitville Road. That intersection is going to be, well, it's a little not busy right now, but later in the morning, it is one of our biggest intersections, especially during that morning commute.
Certainly is. Streets get busier every minute during the morning commute. You can check out the traffic through our app. You can find it in 2 ways, through WWSB or My Suncoast. On to our top story, an update on a stabbing in Northport. Police say the attacker is dead, and he's connected with a very different high-profile case.
Yeah, strange one. Police say 32-year-old John Ludwig of Port Charlotte was trying to kidnap a woman early yesterday morning. He had attacked her with a knife as she was getting out of her car outside of her home. And according to police, she was able to get the knife from him and then stab him several times. He later died at the hospital. But here is where the story takes a twist. Now, Ludwig was actually featured very prominently on the Oxygen series last summer, The Disappearance of Natalie Holloway, because he claimed that he was friends with Jorn Vandersloot, who's long been thought to have been her murderer, and then helped bury the body, those are his claims, of Natalie on the island of Aruba. He even led investigators to the spot on the show.
We're pretty confident that he had some ill intentions here to do at least a kidnapping, if not, you know, what his intentions were after that we may never know, but they certainly did not appear to be good ones.
Well, police say the woman involved will not be charged.
And Northport police also have a very different investigation going on this morning involving the apparent drowning of an 8-month-old baby. It happened around a backyard pool on DeGarmo Street. Police say it was about 4:30 p.m. when it happened, and they were called about an hour later.
Well, it has been more than 6 months now since Hurricane Irma. And this week, a former FEMA boss was in Sarasota with a kind of report card on how emergency services dealt with that hurricane, the good and the bad.
So how'd we do? Here's Marla Spence live now from the Emergency Operations Center near Cattleman Road. Marla, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, Craig Fugate, who served for President Barack Obama's FEMA administrator and also Florida Governor Jeb Bush's emergency management director, left Sarasota County last night. He spoke to some commissioners and also city leaders on how the county did when they responded to Hurricane Irma almost 6 months ago. That review he left was about strengths and weaknesses that the city did, and he listed a few of the strengths that the county performed during Hurricane Irma's response. Some of those strengths included the county County being able to provide shelter for more than 20,000 people. Sarasota maintaining generator operations. They assessing roads and clearing them as soon as high winds died down. And the medical director being able to make calls through dispatch to take calls and also assist people with their medical needs. And so far, since the record storm, emergency management has had more than 20 meetings detailing ways to better plan for storms. I spoke to the county yesterday. A spokesperson told me that the county reviews all of the assessments that Fugate has held and left throughout the county, and also their meetings, and they are focusing and continuing to work on their strengths during responses like Hurricane Irma, and they're continuing to also look at their weaknesses. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to be detailing and telling you what those weaknesses are in Sarasota County. Reporting live in Sarasota, I'm Marla Spence for ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Thanks, Marla. Well, it's been a controversial issue for more than a year now, and some new ideas finally on what to do with land near Celery Fields Park in East Sarasota. Fresh Start, the same group who fought against the debris recycling center that was going to be built there, is now asking the community what they would like to see there instead. Now, they received nearly 40 ideas, ranging from affordable housing to a new park. One of the members of the executive board says they've put their heart into this initiative, and they do want to see it through.
We know that the county has to do something with the land. It's fallow land. It's been empty for a lot of time. They want money. So how they get the money is what we're trying to facilitate. Some kind of businesses, green space, parks. There's a lot of ideas on the table.
Today, Fresh Start is meeting with an advisory panel of architects and planning professionals to look over all of those proposals and see which ones might be the most feasible. The county tells us it is looking forward to hearing all of those proposals.
Venice City Council is once again looking at plans to add 90 parking spaces near the city pier. Owners of the adjacent Sharkies would help pay for the nearly $500,000 project. These spaces will be at North Broward Beach Park. Council originally looked at this plan over a year ago, but it was set aside in favor of other capital projects.
Elite Airways is announcing it's going to be ending its service from SRQ to White Plains, New York. The twice-weekly nonstop route started last November, running on Fridays and Mondays. No word yet on the reason for that cancellation. Elite Airways says the final day of service for that route will be April the 30th.
Governor Scott signed a controversial education bill this week. The plan expands the use of voucher-like scholarships to send students to private schools with taxpayer money. It also allows students who are bullied to go to private schools at no additional cost. One of the most controversial provisions in the bill would require teachers' unions to seek recertification if their membership falls below 50%. A Republican member of the House pushed for that component. Here's why.
There's a number of unions in the state that have very low percentage of the bargaining units that actually pay dues. And I would interpret that as they're not being responsive to their members.
Earlier this week, the governor also signed a bill to permanently expand the Bright Futures Merit Scholarships to state universities and also allow Florida universities to provide scholarships to out-of-state national merit scholars.
Senator Marco Rubio is taking the Sunshine State Protection Act to the U.S. Senate. He wants Congress to do one of two things: either make daylight saving time permanent across the country or give Florida permission to do it. Rubio says daylight saving time is better for farmers, reduces traffic accidents because there's more light, and then leads to healthier lifestyles. More people are out and about. Now, Florida lawmakers have already agreed that they do want the state to adopt daylight saving time year-round. But as we've mentioned, it's no small task. The change can only take effect if Congress changes federal law.
I did a very, very informal poll last weekend. I was at an event, hosting an event in Venice. I said, clap if you want it to be changed, clap if you want it to stay the same.
Right.
More people clap for change it.
Change it. Yeah, I've heard that more in people, especially in the evenings. We have a little bit more sunlight out there. More people are less concerned about having more sunlight in the morning. So
yeah,
I think it's interesting. It's a good debate.
Still ahead, first alert traffic and the tax deadline 1 month from today. We talked to a local accountant who gave us some tips that can help you this year or next year on making the most of your deductions. And coming up a little later in the hour, the on-again and off-again idea to expand the parking next to the Venice Pier appears to be on again. We've got the details, so stick around. There's a live shot from Atlanta, Georgia, the capital there in the Peach State. Pretty shot there this morning. How's it doing locally here, John Scalzi?
Yeah, it looks good for us. A lot of sunshine in store for you. And I think maybe even a little bit warmer this afternoon than we were 24 hours ago. We'll come up to about 70 degrees by 3 p.m. 47 by 7, and then 12 noon, 63. Forecast in a second.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
What if you had a medical emergency away from home?
My chest hurts. I can't breathe.
What you need is Mobile Help, America's premier mobile medical alert system. Most systems only work at home, but with Mobile Help, you get help outside the home with coverage nationwide on one of the largest cellular networks at the press of a button. Call the number on your screen for a free full-color brochure. We'll send you everything you need, including this base station, the patented mobile device, and the waterproof pendant and wrist button. You can also add the fall button that automatically detects falls and signals help. Call today and receive a risk-free 30-day trial. There is no equipment to buy and no long-term contract. For a limited time, you will also receive a free emergency key box with your plan purchase. Remember, Mobile Help keeps you safe coast to coast.
Call 1-800-916-8638. That's 1-800-916-8638.
Now your ABC 7 First Alert weather forecast with meteorologist John Scalzi.
So we have dipped down into the 40s now at this hour. We're at 49 degrees and we have a dew point value coming in at 42. Still very dry air in place across the region. We may even see our dew points drop further into the 30s as we progress through the mid-morning and into the early afternoon, making it feel extremely dry across the area, especially if you're in a heated location. Winds north-northeast coming in at about 5 and a starry sky out there right now. Temperatures kind of all over the place. We've got 55 at Longboat Key, but 44, 10 degrees cooler in Wauchula, Arcadia, Myakka, Punta Gorda, Northport coming in at 47, 46 in Bradenton, 46 in Parrish, 48 in Lakewood Ranch, 49 degrees in Sarasota itself. Venice comes in at 51 and Inglewood at 51. So the temperature change over the last 24 hours looks like this. It's actually 3 degrees warmer in Sarasota, 2 degrees warmer in Bradenton and Parrish, but you move inland, and that's really not the case. It's a degree cooler in Arcadia, 2 degrees cooler in Punta Gorda. It really depended on where the wind was today, and overnight last night, I should say. And you can see how our area here of the Suncoast kind of has a protrusion out into Gulf waters in the northern parts of the Suncoast, and that's why it tends to be a little bit warmer there at this hour. But we still have a couple hours of cooling left, and we're still going to get a little bit chillier before we get warmer. We'll go with a 3 p.m. temperature today of about 70 degrees, though, and that's going to be a little bit warmer than yesterday when we were only in the mid-60s, so that'll be nice to see. The warming trend actually starts today, even though we do have one more really kind of cool night, similar to this morning, in the forecast for us. So as we head into the evening, we'll drop down into the 70s. By 7 p.m., we'll be at 65. By Midnight 50, and then when you wake up tomorrow morning again, we'll be looking at temperatures that are in the 40s. Big ridge of high pressure sits over the northern Gulf Coast. That's going to expand eastward today. And as it does that, a couple of things happen. One, it kind of shuts off that drainage of cold air from the north. And the other thing is it shifts our winds around to the east, which draws in some milder, warmer air for us as we head into the weekend. So that's going to be a big change in our weather as we head into the next 24. But then developing cold fronts back to the west will eventually work their way closer to us by next work week. And again, we'll see our temperatures dip down into the lower 70s after having been in the upper 70s over the weekend. And that'll occur probably by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So, kind of a roller coaster ride here as we head into the last few days of winter and the beginning of spring. Coming up in about 5 days, start of daytime warm up today. We'll still be cool at night, and then we'll dry into next week, but then at the beginning of next work week, we'll start to factor in chances of rainfall. Futurecast shows us dry today, shows us dry tomorrow and sunny, and then a developing storm system over the weekend back to the north of us will develop into a cold front that'll eventually work its way closer to us as we get into Tuesday of next week. So the forecast is kind of shaping up like this. We'll look for a beach and boating forecast that calls for a north wind at about 10. Incidentally, the irritants from red tide are increasing due to that westerly component to the wind and the currents themselves across our coastlines. So be aware of that. If you go to the beach, there may be some irritation in the air due to that red tide expanding toward the coast. Winds will generally be north, as I said, to northwest, 2-foot seas, light chop on bay and inland waters. And your forecast looks like this. We'll have a daytime high today of about 70, tomorrow about 74. And then as we head into the weekend, we're nice, coming in the upper 70s. And on Shamrock Day, it looks pretty nice for us. St. Patty's Day is going to be absolutely a spectacular afternoon and evening. Monday, we work in that chance of a rain shower. It's a better rain chance on Tuesday. And then as we head into Wednesday, we cool down significantly, down to about 70 degrees from a high near 80 on Sunday. Back to you.
All right, thanks, John. We're going to take a look outside right now to your first alert traffic at 517. Not too much to see on those roads, just a little blip right there on 301 as you're leaving downtown Bradenton area. But other than that, in Manatee County, the roads are running pretty smooth around this time of the day. If we're heading a little bit farther south into Sarasota County, there's also a little bit of congestion right there on Fruitville and 301. That corner is just a little bit congested as well, and we'll show you that in just a little bit. And then farther south in the county, those roads are looking pretty good. There's just a little slowdown on Clark and 75, that interchange. Other than that, the farther that you go in the South County area, those areas are still looking pretty good around this time in the morning. 517 with your first alert traffic.
And speaking of South County, this week's Dream 18 is in Northport.
ABC 7's Bob Harrigan visited the Heron Creek Golf and Country Club.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Dream 18. We are here at the lovely golf course here in Northport. This is Heron Creek Golf and Country Club. Kyle Wagger, the director of instruction here at the course, is helping me along. And Kyle, what a great hole you have here.
Oh, this is one of our best. This is number 1 of our Creek 9. It's a dog leg left around the lake here, par 4. And our goal is to keep it dry off the tee here.
Yeah, and it's tough too because you got to pick your mark as far as where you're going to hit it and how much you're going to take off.
You got to trust your sight lines and go with it.
There we go. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Now, see, that's a great drive right there, but he may have hit it too long. Look at this. That'll put me a long way in, but should be okay. I'm going to play this about 148. Kyle has advised me to play at 148. We'll see. Pins up front. I know this green slopes down, too, so if you are long, you're going to have a long shot up to the hole. Well, just like you said, I'm short, but I'm going to be right there. Right at it.
Gotta go.
Get up, get up. Same thing I did, right?
Yeah. Concentrating on my chest, getting all the way through the ball so my hands don't come too much into play here.
Chip shot. Right in front. Oh! There's a long putt for par. Oh, and as Dave Pell says, routine and rhythm, baby. Routine and rhythm. had the line, I just didn't hit it. Look at that, nice putt, nice putt. Nice putt, that's a gimme. Kyle, thanks a lot, enjoyed coming out here and playing. Great course you got here.
Love to have you, and love to have anyone come out and see us.
That's right, call the Pro Shop. Thanks for watching another edition of Dream 18.
All right, still ahead on Good Morning Suncoast, we've got 3 tax tips for you. And the woman who once called the next Steve Jobs is charged with massive fraud. We've got that story.
And Lyft announcing plans to make its own self-driving car. We'll show you what the company's already doing to make this happen. But first, a live picture from the nation's largest city. There's the Empire State Building, built in 1931.
It is looking very calm and peaceful, but chilly again today.
Yes, I did some math. It's 32 there, feels like 22. We're going to see a high of 70 here on the Sun Coast. Yes, you're watching Good Morning Suncoast on ABC 7.
Alex Karras Lincoln's 40th anniversary sale. Drive a brand new 2018 Lincoln MKC for $279 per month or the Lincoln MKZ for $299 per month. We have a great selection of certified pre-owned Lincolns. These vehicles have warranties up to 100,000 miles and come with complimentary roadside assistance. Alex Karras Lincoln, where our mission statement is consistent commitment. Every client, every time. Located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41.
It's time to take a road trip. Alabama's got 100 road trips. And if you love the sun, you're gonna love Mobile, where Mardi Gras is king, and the accommodations will make you feel like royalty. You can take a little drive, explore Dauphin Island, or explore the past. We're talking the USS Alabama. Check out these big guns. Alabama's got 100 road trips. Plan yours at alabama.travel. Which one you gonna take?
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Well, today is March 15th, and that means 1 month from your deadline to submit your tax return.
I talked to a local accountant and asked her for 3 basic tips. Now, these involve parents, involve married couples, and also those who have had hurricane damage. Watch.
If you sustained a loss due to Hurricane Irma in 2017, and your loss is greater than $500 after insurance reimbursements, you may be able to claim that loss on your 2017 income tax return. In 2018, under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act recently passed, a family can now claim a child tax credit up to $2,000 per child. In 2018, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act increased the standard deduction for a married couple up to $24,000. If both are over the age of 65, this increases to $26,600. With this increase, many individuals will not be itemizing. Therefore, if you want to be able to claim your charitable donations, you may want to consider taking your required minimum distributions from your IRA that you would be required to take at 70.5 and rolling them over to a charity.
So some are helpful for this year and some for your next tax return.
All right, sounds good. And then next hour, we'll have 3 more tax tips of different kinds.
Talk to a different CPA and 3 other tips for you next hour. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Well, the woman who founded a once high-flying Silicon Valley startup is now charged with massive fraud.
Good build up there.
Right?
ABC's Diane Macedo and Candace Gibson have details in this morning's Tech Bites.
In today's Tech Bites, the woman once called the next Steve Jobs is now paying up after being charged in a massive fraud.
Elizabeth Holmes is accused of defrauding investors in her blood testing startup Theranos by lying about the company's technology. She's agreed to settle with regulators for $500,000. Lyft is teaming up with Canadian auto parts supplier Magna to develop self-driving vehicles.
The two companies will share expenses on the project, and as part of the deal, Magna says it will invest $200 million in Lyft.
And YouTube's plan to use Wikipedia to fight conspiracy theory videos coming under fire. Critics say Wikipedia's entries can also be twisted.
Also, the whole plan seems to have been a surprise. Wikipedia says it had no idea YouTube was going to announce the plan. Just a minor little detail.
Is that wrong? Hey, surprise, we're collaborating.
Maybe they should make a Wikipedia entry saying it.
Ah, then it would be factual. Those are your Tech Bites.
Tech Bites. Brought to you by Xeljanz.
Your body was made for better things than rheumatoid arthritis. Before you and your rheumatologist move to another treatment, ask if Xeljanz XR is right for you. Xeljanz XR is a once-daily pill for adults with moderate to severe RA, for whom methotrexate did not work well. It can reduce pain, swelling, and further joint damage, even without methotrexate. Xeljanz XR can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections, lymphoma, and other cancers have happened. Don't start Xeljanz XR if you have an infection, tears in the stomach or intestines, low blood cell counts, and higher liver tests and cholesterol levels have happened. Your doctor should perform blood tests before you start and while taking Xeljanz XR and monitor certain liver tests. Tell your doctor if you are in a region where fungal infections are common, and if you have had TB, hepatitis B or C, or are prone to infections. Xeljanz XR can reduce the symptoms of RA, even without methotrexate. Ask your rheumatologist about Xeljanz XR.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. We promise we're more than a dealership. We're a destination with a movie theater, massage room, aquarium, cafe, and more. We promise to give you top dollar for your trade, even if you don't buy from us. And if you do, we promise you the best deal. Bring us any competitor's ad and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 Digital Media Services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 Digital Media Services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Tonight on ABC7 News at 7.
People need to get out of the way of emergency vehicles. You need to pull over because you never know where they're going and whose life it could save.
A Siesta Key man is dead after traffic delays prevented help from arriving quickly. Are we too popular and overcrowded for our own good? I'm Alan Cohn. We'll get answers, so meet me at the trapezoid.
Tonight on ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar, A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Get breaking news, plus first alert weather and traffic focused on where you live. Watch Good Morning Suncoast on ABC 7, weekdays starting at 5.
Coming up on Good Morning Suncoast, a day after that nationwide school walkout, surveillance video from the school shooting in Parkland is expected to be released to the public later today.
Although Hurricane Irma was nearly 6 months ago, Sarasota County officials and a former FEMA boss is doing what they can to analyze the county's strengths and weaknesses. We're telling you what they are straight ahead.
And a study by NASA found out that going into space changes a person's DNA. What this means for future space travel right now on Good Morning Suncoast.
You're watching Good Morning Suncoast at 5:30.
And those two guys are twin brothers.
They are.
One went to space, one didn't.
Very interesting. I want to skip ahead right to that story. That is fascinating to me.
Well, that's a good tease.
It's the wannabe astronaut in my blood.
Well, John said it'd be cold, but he said now it didn't turn out quite as cold as he thought it would this morning, right?
Yeah, by a few degrees. It's,
Yeah.
it's not quite as cold, but still, you're going to need a jacket or a light sweater as you head out the door. We're in the 40s in most locations, and in inland areas it is as cold as we thought, and you'll probably see temperatures in the 30s there. I'm waiting for Becky and Mayaka to phone in. Always the colder location, and I'm sure she'll be in the pretty near freezing at her location, I suspect. Across the coastline, though, as you get closer to the coast, things are a little bit more moderated because of a westerly wind that we had overnight. So 49 in Sarasota, 50 Venice, 55 Longboat Key, Inglewood at 50. But you go inland just a little bit, and we're at 43 in Mayaka City, 42 in Punta Gorda, just a little ways away from that 30-degree mark, or getting into the 30s. Across the region, a lot of sunshine in store for you today. We have little in the way of any kind of cloud cover, and as we head into the afternoon, it'll probably end up being a warmer day with a daytime high temperature near the 70-degree mark. We'll go with, by 7 a.m., 47, 40, 63 by noon, and then that 70 mark later on today. Talk about a warm-up this weekend, coming up in a few.
All right, good timing. Thank you, John. Checking the roads right now. Pretty clear at the usual spots, 301 and 70, checking clear so far. Let's go farther south now into the northern half of Sarasota County and see how we're doing on that particular map. No real problems there so far today. It is early after all. Let's go to the final map to the south and see how the South County area looks. A little blip there at 41 southbound as you pass Tarpon Point and head toward Port Charlotte.
All right, speaking of those roads, let's take a live look outside to the corner of 301 and Fruitville Road. We're talking about this is always a spot that's bound to get a little bit busier as your morning commute progresses during the day, but running pretty smooth right now. There was a little blip earlier this morning, but it looks to have cleared out a little bit.
Streets are getting busier every moment during the commute, so stay tuned with our app. You can find it at the App Store under WWSB or under My Suncoast.
Well, it has been more than 6 months since Hurricane Irma, and this week a former FEMA boss was in Sarasota with a kind of report card on just how emergency services dealt with the hurricane.
72-page report card. So what did we learn in all this? Marla Spence has details from the Emergency Operations Center. Marla.
According to Craig Fugate, who served as President Barack Obama's FEMA administrator, he says Sarasota County responded well during Hurricane Irma, but says there are some areas of improvement for the county. Those areas are revising shelter plans, making them pet-friendly, implementing a registry for people with special needs, medically dependent, and those that need transportation to shelters, also clearing up the difference between mandatory and voluntary evacuation, and better identifying evacuation areas. So far, the county has had more than 20 meetings on how to better prepare and analyze the strengths and weaknesses during hurricane response. I spoke to a spokesperson with Sarasota County, and she tells us although the hurricane was more than 6 months ago, they are continuing to analyze what they can do to better prepare and respond during hurricanes. Reporting live in Sarasota County, I'm Marla Spence for ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
All right, happening today, an affordable housing expert from Maryland will offer some tips to local housing officials this morning in Sarasota. A meeting starts at 8 a.m. at the Community Foundation on Fruitville Road. Local officials are trying to figure out ways to increase the amount of affordable housing for those in need in Sarasota County.
And officials are investigating why several people living in an assisted living facility in South Florida are getting sick. Now, officials say at least 7 people are suffering from symptoms similar to that norovirus, including nausea, stomach pain, and vomiting. Now, they were taken to a hospital for observation and to run some tests, but no word yet on just what it is that's making them sick.
Unusual story here. 2 Central Florida men are facing charges in a bizarre burglary plot. This pair was caught allegedly stealing from the home of a man they both had dated. Deputies say they tried to start a fire there by leaving spaghetti sauce boiling on a stove with a washcloth near the burner. The victim was first alerted to the burglary when he saw somebody had put a towel over his security camera.
And an update now on the trial of the widow of the Pulse nightclub shooter. Prosecutors say that Noor Salman admitted to investigators that she knew her husband was planning that massacre. Now, Salman's defense cast her as a victim, not an accomplice. A family spokeswoman addressed the case yesterday and had this to say.
During jury selection, she said that she was really looking forward to the jury hearing the evidence because she knows that a lot of things that have been reported and leaked to the media have been untrue.
Now, if convicted, Noor Salman could face life in prison.
An update now on the case against the 19-year-old accused in the Broward County School massacre. A lawyer for one of the shooting victims filed a motion to disqualify the prosecutors and the defense team in the trial against Nicholas Cruz, citing a conflict of interest. He says the state attorney's office and the public defenders were involved in a program together called Promise. That program provides students who commit minor crimes at school with counseling and other treatments instead of going to jail.
Address this before proceeding with the case, because you have the 2 people that I'm trying to recuse going forward with the case.
Nicholas Cruz did appear in court yesterday, and his lawyers pleaded not guilty. They previously offered to plead guilty in exchange for life in prison, but prosecutors refused to take the death penalty off the table.
Well, following up now on Walkout Wednesday on the 1-month anniversary of the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School.
As the clock struck 10 nationwide yesterday in their respective time zones, students got up and walked out of class. ABC's Diane Macedo shows us how students made their voices heard from snowy Maine to sunny Hawaii.
Students from more than 3,000 schools nationwide flooded out of their classrooms demanding action against guns, summing up their message in one word: enough. Student leaders are calling for action from Parkland, Florida.
Even though it happened in our community, it affects the whole country. We all just want to feel safe in our schools.
To Newtown, Connecticut.
Sitting in lockdown, literally scared for me and my siblings' life. I don't think that any student should ever have to go through that. And the fact that we've gone through it so many times since that is just unacceptable.
As the protesters gathered, the NRA tweeted this picture of an assault rifle with the message, "I'll control my own guns, thank you." Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the House approved $500 million for school safety improvements, including training teachers and students on how to prevent violence. But the bill does not address changes to any gun laws. The Senate is considering a similar measure. Adding to the debate, 2 incidents of shots mistakenly fired inside schools by adults who were supposed to protect students. A school resource officer in Virginia misfired a gun on Tuesday, and in California, 3 students were injured when a teacher accidentally fired a shot into the ceiling during a lesson on gun safety.
I look at my shirt like that, and there's like blood on my shirt, and then I wipe my neck kind of, and a bullet fragment comes off my neck.
The teacher is now on leave. Meanwhile, the student protesters are looking ahead to the March for Our Lives event in Washington a week from Saturday. Organizers say star singers Ariana Grande, Jennifer Hudson, Miley Cyrus, and Demi Lovato will join them, demanding action on guns. Diane Macedo, ABC News, New York.
While students across the country walked out of class yesterday, some took it a step further. Almost 200 students in Ohio gathered at their state house to ask lawmakers to ban bump stocks. They also want to stop people convicted of domestic violence from buying guns.
Every single one of these people are going to be voters in a few short years if they aren't already. And those are all the constituents of the legislators that we're talking to today.
Now, they also asked lawmakers to spend money on counselors and nurses for schools instead of more resource officers.
As we go from Ohio to North Carolina, state lawmakers are proposing their own gun law changes. Among the plans by the governor there, Roy Cooper, extreme risk protection orders. That's a policy that would allow citizens to ask courts to temporarily confiscate guns from individuals who are a danger to themselves or others. The governor also wants to close a loophole in the background check system that he says makes it easier to buy weapons like the AR-15. That was the gun used in the Parkland shooting. Additionally, he wants to raise the minimum purchase age for those weapons to 21, just like in Florida recently. He's also calling for a ban on these so-called bump stocks. All right, 5:39 right now, switching gears. We're sad to report the loss today of our longtime host of Black Almanac here on ABC7. Ed James passed away earlier this week.
That's right. Dr. James touched a countless number of lives here at the station and out in the public. ABC7's Dwayne Lindo has a look back at his influential life.
Dr. Edward James dedicated his life to journalism, fighting for equal rights and being a voice for the voiceless. He was part of a family that had a storied history of civil rights activism and spent decades serving as a leader of the African American community. Both personally and professionally, Dr. James helped make the Suncoast a better place. Dr. James had an extensive background in government and public relations. His career included jobs as a columnist and government reporter, as well as a public information officer and deputy chief investigator for the state attorney's office for the 12th Judicial Circuit of Florida. Dr. James joined the ABC7 family back in 1972 as a weekend news anchor. That year, he also started producing and hosting the show Black Almanac.
Good morning. I'm Ed James, and this is Black Almanac.
It is now the longest airing locally produced public affairs program in the southeastern United States. Over the years, Black Almanac helped shed a light on concerns of the African American community, specifically Newtown. Dr. James fought for justice for a mother whose son was killed in an officer-involved shooting. He also invited law enforcement officials, local and state government leaders on the show regularly to get answers on what they were doing for the people in our communities. In 2017, Black Almanac celebrated its 45th anniversary. But it was the work Dr. James did outside the show that also made a lasting difference. Dr. James helped with the desegregation of the Sarasota County Public Library. He also served as a mentor for both adults and young people.
It was Ed James that impacted my life.
Including the principal of Booker High School, Dr. Rachel Shelley, by helping her graduate college. Dr. James also helped facilitate improvements in the Newtown community, including a new dugout at the Newtown Estates baseball field, so players would be protected from bad weather. That dugout is now dedicated in honor of Dr. James. Dr. James also spent decades working with nonprofit groups, including the NAACP, Coalition of African American Leadership, North Sarasota County Civic League, and many more. Dr. James was honored with a Lifetime Service Award and a Freedom Award by the Sarasota County NAACP. He was also given the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Sarasota African American Chamber of Commerce. Dr. James is survived by his wife Helen and 3 children. He was 78 years old.
Alex Karras Lincoln's 40th anniversary sale. Please join us in welcoming the 2 newest additions to the Lincoln lineup, our flagship luxury sedan, the 2018 Lincoln Continental, and the totally redesigned 2018 Lincoln Navigator, featuring 450 horsepower, 10-speed transmission, and many best-in-class features. Alex Karras Lincoln, where our mission statement is consistent commitment, every client, every time. Located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 78.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
Today, everyone is looking for more fashionable choices in flooring than ever before. And G. Fried has responded with a huge selection of carpets, tile, wood, laminate, and vinyl. Installed by a highly skilled team, G. Fried has got everything you're looking for and more. The next time you think about quality flooring, think G. Fried Flooring America. G. Fried Flooring America. Our world is at your feet.
I am the resident district manager on the FAU campus for Chartwell. Whenever I see Haley, I do not see a person with a disability. I see a person with extraordinary abilities. Haley is always smiling. She's always on time. She gives fantastic customer service and is always focused on any job that she's given.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator, there was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
ABC 7 News at 7, weeknights. Meteorologist John Scalzi.
49-degree air temperature at the airport. We'll probably lose another couple of degrees before we start to warm. The sun comes up. So about 9, 10 o'clock, we'll start to warm things up just a tad. I think north-northeast wind coming in at about 5. Dew point value cold, 42, meaning the air is very dry. And consequently, when you heat that air, the relative humidity goes even further, goes lower, even more so than it is right now. 70 degrees, the air temperature by about 3 p.m. this afternoon. So we will warm up today. We'll, in fact, be a little bit warmer today than we were 24 hours ago. So that's nice. This warming trend that I've been talking about all week is finally starting to kick in. We're watching a high-pressure ridge kind of expand to a place on the map where it will bring us eventually a nice warming wind that'll carry us up to near the 80-degree mark, which is about where we should be. A little warmer, actually, than we should be. 65 degrees by 7 p.m. We'll start to cool again pretty effectively this evening, I think, as the air is still going to be very dry. The winds will go rather calm, and we'll bottom it out tonight at probably about where we are this morning. So sunny, still a little on the cool side, no doubt about that, but at least warmer than it was yesterday. Big ridge of high pressure builds and expands eastward out toward the Atlantic waters. As it does that, departing low pressure areas allow for that high to strengthen, and that means that our wind speeds start to twist a little bit to the east as we head into the next, probably 48 hours. And that will actually increase our daytime high temperatures to the upper 70s, make it feel pretty comfortable, while we maintain plenty of sunshine right straight through that period and dry skies. So it looks like it's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend. Start of this daytime warm-up, but still it will be cool at nights for tonight and probably even tomorrow night before we start to warm back up for our weekend evening temperatures. Dry right straight into next week. The RPM computer model extended range forecast shows the frontal boundary beginning to develop by Saturday in the northern Gulf waters and then gradually drifting in this direction, bringing us a chance of rainfall as we head in, particularly into Tuesday. But even on Monday, I think moisture will increase to the point where we have a chance at seeing a rain shower or two around. North wind coming in at about 10 knots today, bringing you a light chop. So a much better boating day today than over the last several days. 70 degrees for today. On Friday, we'll look for a temperature of about 74 degrees. And then on Saturday, we're looking for some pretty nice conditions, actually, for St. Paddy's Day. I think we'll probably see those temperatures climb up to about 75 degrees or so. Very nice. And then as we head into Sunday, Probably close to the 80 mark, and maybe a few more clouds around as we start to develop a little bit more moisture, factoring in a chance of rain showers late on Monday. Daytime highs still warm. Then on Tuesday, the front will come through. That'll bring us our best chance of rain for the week, and we'll start to cool a little bit as we head into Wednesday. Back to you.
All right, thanks, John. Let's look outside and check how your first alert traffic is running this morning. Starting to see a little bit more red on those maps. Pretty normal for around this time of the day. Roads are starting to pick up, especially 301. If you are leaving or heading into Bradenton this morning, that is your normal slowdown right there. If you're heading into if you're in Manatee heading into Sarasota County, those roads are starting to get a little bit more congested. Starting to see some slowdowns right there on University Parkway, almost to the intersection of 301, as well as Fruitville Road. A couple spots in there that are running a little slow, and Bee Ridge as well. Heading a little farther south in Sarasota County, those roads are still running pretty smooth out there this morning. Not too bad out there so far in your southern county commute. And a little bit farther out there, those roads again are still looking good. That is your first alert traffic at 5:50. In this hour's Health Smart, here in the U.S., we have the best healthcare in the world. Or we have some of the most expensive healthcare in the world.
So which one is true? ABC's Tara Palmieri has the answer.
As a nation, we seem to be helpless against high medical costs. A new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association points out a few of the key reasons. It's not that we use our doctors and our hospitals more frequently, the study says. We're about the same as Sweden or Japan, but we love to test. We perform more CT scans than anywhere else in the world. Doctor salaries are about twice as high here as the UK or Germany, and the cost of brand name drugs also bump up the price tag. Here's a telling figure. 84% of our prescriptions are for less expensive generic drugs, but they account for only 30% of the total dollars spent on pharmaceuticals. Our prescription drugs cost often twice as much as those sold in Europe. Crestor, for example, lowers cholesterol for $186 in America. In Germany, it's just $41. It's a telling report on the health of our healthcare wallets. With this Medical Minute, I'm Tara Palmieri, ABC News.
Well, spending a year in space not only changes, your outlook on life, it could change your DNA. NASA has learned that astronaut Scott Kelly and his identical twin, astronaut Mark Kelly, are no longer genetically the same. 7% of Scott's genes didn't return to normal after his return to Earth 2 years ago. This is so crazy. Now they think that some of the gene mutations could have been caused by just the sheer stress of space travel. But NASA says research like this is especially needed before astronauts are sent on journeys like a planned 3-year mission to Mars.
Scientists are probably so giddy to have these twins to compare and contrast.
Such a bizarre story. Can you imagine as they're researching or seeing these complete differences?
Yes, love that. Three important local headlines for you after this. Stay with us.
My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter, and I'm here for you.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
My name is Luke Perry, and I am 1 million strong. I'm in the fight against colorectal cancer because I believe we can win it. Colon and rectal cancers are the second leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the U.S. Colon cancer is preventable. Know the risk factors and make sure to get screened. There are simple, take-home options available. Take control of your health. Screening for colon cancer isn't embarrassing. It can be life-saving. To find out more about your options, visit fightcrc.org.
According to a new survey by U.S. News & World Report, 3 of Alabama's top 4 hotels and resorts are part of the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail Resort Collection. The Grand Hotel Marriott Resort in Point Clear, the Battle House Renaissance Mobile Hotel and Spa, and the Renaissance Birmingham Ross Bridge Golf Resort and Spa. Hey, we didn't invent Southern hospitality, we just offer more of it. Visit rtjgolf.com/resorts to find out more.
Hi, I'm Janelle Hale, founder and CEO of the National Breast Cancer Foundation. No one should face breast cancer alone. When I was diagnosed 36 years ago, there was no internet, and I had to make a decision with little information. Early detection saved my life. It could save yours too. To learn what every woman needs to know about breast cancer, visit nbcf.org/hope.
All right, so here are some of the top stories that we're following for you on the Suncoast today.
A former head of FEMA has now reviewed Sarasota County's response to Hurricane Irma. Craig Fugate said evacuation zones were confusing. All shelters should be kept pet-friendly, and the county could have done a better job communicating with the media.
Plus, a man who died after he allegedly attempted to kidnap a Northport woman was part of a high-profile murder case. 32-year-old John Lugwood claims he helped bury Natalie Holloway's remains on the island of Aruba.
And a housing expert from Maryland is bringing some fresh ideas to the Suncoast today. She'll lay out some concepts at the Sarasota Housing Authority meeting.
All right, coming up in the next hour, FDOT wants to add a median, some paved shoulders, bike lanes, sidewalks, and more to US 41. When we come back, we're going to show you how you can be a part of that decision-making process. That's next hour.
Hour number 2 is after this.